What is up, guys? Welcome to another video. The Geeky guy here, and today we'll be looking at the Ira Blitz deck. So this is a Blitz deck that I came up with quite a while ago because since the release of Everfest, there's a particular card that I'm really interested in. And there's a few cards that I'm interested in, namely Twin Twisters 100 Wins, which we're going to explore in a bit in this deck list. Also, just a quick one. My Patreon is now live, so if you guys want to support me and you want to have the deck list to this deck, you can actually check out my Patreon. I'm also going to add some cool tips and tricks on playing this deck while, basically some additional information that I will be is not available in this video, because in this video I'll be mainly talking about the deck text perspective. But if you want to know more and you want to learn more about this deck, feel free to head over to my Patreon, select one of the tiers. All tiers will have access to my tips and tricks videos, which I only post exclusively on Patreon. Also, I would like to thank my first ever Patreon, Philip. So thank you very much, my guy, for the support. And I hope you guys check out the Patreon for the additional tips and tricks and the deck list itself. So enough for the Patreon stuff, and let's head into the deck list. So basically, now we take a look at the loadout. So we have Kodachi, the Arcane Lantern, Breaking Scales, really standard stuff. So stuff that you usually see in Ira decks since the inception of Ira. Tunic, Mask, so we have a bunch of Null Runes. So it really depends on matchup. So Kano, I don't believe is not much of a threat in Blitz, but you do have additional slots in Blitz. Might as well just use it. And then Snapdragons, and then Vest of First Fist, since we have no longer access to Cross Trap. So usually you just want to go with Kodachi, Scales, Tunic, and Mask, and the rest are optional. Now we are looking at the deck list itself. 2 copies of Command and Conquer, always good to threaten your opponent's arsenal. E-Strike, 2 red copies of Flick Flag, the best defense reaction in the game, no question asked, 2 reds. Flush the Feast, 1 copy, synergizes really well if you want to throw the card away to block with Flick Flag. Flying Kick, 100 Wins, leg tap, push the point. Pretty self-explanatory. So what you want to do with push the point is basically Kodachi, and then second Kodachi, and then push the point. Hopefully your opponent doesn't block the second Kodachi. For a more safer play, you can always Kodachi, then push the point for a total of 7 damage. But the full effectiveness will push the damage point up to 9. Next we have Razor Reflex, leg tap. 100 Wins is one of those cards that synergizes really well with Flick Flag because it's a combo card. It works well with Scales because it's a combo card. And then it has Natural Go again. If you can stack 200 Wins together, you get up to about 7 damage. Leg Tap Rising Knee, always a really cheap and useful combo. Sink Below, Snatch. Also, when you're playing Snatch, and what you want to do is basically go for Kodachi, Snatch for 5 instead. And then try to give it go again with Razor. Or if you can't, always don't be afraid to use Snaps. So it's better to actually lose the game with all your equipment used, and then losing the game with your equipment still on board. Most of the game that you actually utilize your equipment to its fullest potential is the games you win. And usually if you lose the game, it's basically because you didn't use your equipment, and most of the time you'll see your equipment still on board. So don't be afraid to break the Snaps Elite to force a go again. Soul Beach Strike, Torrent, so both of these hit, it's a go again upon hit. So you want to force your opponent to in a really awkward position, so you can go for Soul Beach Strike. For the second attack, combining it with Ira's ability, is going to be a 5. Next we have Twin Twister. So Twin Twister is another card that I think is really good because it's optional to choose these options. So what you want to do is Kodachi, Twin Twisters, and then basically Twin Twister will be coming for 4, forcing a equipment or a card with 3 blocks, so basically a defense reaction. And then you can also once it hit, you can choose the next attack +1. So basically passing on the Ira's buff of +1. So it doesn't say what kind of attack, so feel free to go with things like CNC Since you have one pitch remaining, you can use one from Tunic for a CNC. You can even go for Snatch for 5 and then Tournament of Tempo for 6. Even another Kodachi for 2. So it's really flexible in that regards. And then Salt the Wound. One copy of that. We don't want to clunk out our deck too much, so one copy is pretty good. Crane Dance, Fine Center. So these are some of the blue pitch. Pretty self-explanatory here. Even a blue Flick Flag is, I'm putting this in because it's really good against wide decks. So Ira doesn't need much card to work with. As long as she has at least 2 cards in her hand, she'll do pretty well. You can even poke your opponent to death if you want to go that route. 100 Winds, Rising Knee, and then Winds of Eternity just to close out the 100. So blue 100 Winds, I put it in because you can actually buff up your red 100 Winds, and then you can even activate your Winds of Eternity. So that's pretty useful. That's pretty much it, guys. That's the deck list. So once again, if you want more tips and tricks, and then some draw tests that I'm doing, I'm going to recording some draw tests, so you guys can check out my Patreon for that video. And also the deck list will be there. But beside that, if you don't want to have the deck list, you can actually just, while I'm scrolling, you can just feel free to pause the video and, basically get an essence of the deck. I believe you should be able to make out the deck while I'm going through it. I don't want to lock my deck behind Patreon walls and things like that. So, you still can have access to that. So pretty much that's it, guys. So if you want to support me, head over to Patreon. And for everything else, like, subscribe, and thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you so much for the support. It's been crazy for the past month. I've reached about 1,100 plus subscribers. So thank you very much. Bye, guys. See you guys in the next one. Bye.